Hello everyone, welcome to my studio again. Darren Carnell here. Welcome back to this series, this Kylo Ren series that we are doing using Vallejo paints. The first time I'm using these, definitely the first time I'm using them in the tutorial. So welcome back, this is part 16. I have just realised I meant to make myself another coffee before I did this video, and I forgot to go downstairs, so I have no coffee. That's annoying. Okay, so welcome back. I hope you're having a good day or week or month or whatever. I hope you're doing well. In part 15, hang on, let me just check everything's working. Yes, it's counting, which means it's recording. My voice is on, my music is on. We're doing okay. I'm just going to pop up on my screen my Kylo Ren pictures that I was working from. So part 15 that we did the base layer of the hair. We redid the collar. What I did in between videos, which I thought I might, was I did the neat edges around the face. So I just went in with that colour. I went up to the edges where the hair meets the face, made sure it was a nice neat edge. Nothing fancy or difficult or anything, just careful painting with a very thin brush. So I did that, and I did the same for the collar. So you know, that collar now looks like a collar that is going up against his face. Previously there was a sort of a skin coloured bit on the top of the collar because I hadn't painted it right up to the edge. My beard's looking very wide today. So that is that. Today, part 16, which might be the last one. We'll see how it goes. We're going to do some dry brushing on the hair. We're going to do some highlights. We're going to make it, because it's looking, even though that looks black, it's dark brown, very dark brown. It's German camouflage black brown is what it's called, but it's very dark. I want it to have more light because Kylo Ren's hair, and most people who have black hair, if you look at it in the sunlight or with light coming from it, there's brown highlights, and we want to put some of those on. So we're going to do that. We're going to do maybe some black shadows in the crevices just to give it a bit more light and shade. What I did in between videos as well, I noticed that this eye, I wanted it to be slightly further to one side. It wasn't. The more I looked at it, the more I thought, oh, that eye might not be in the right position. I mean, we're talking fractions of a millimeter. We're talking tiny, tiny, tiny bit amount, but that's all it takes to make something look a little bit off. And I'd figured it took that much working on it, that much looking at it, to go, oh, that eye could just do with being a little bit further that way, a tiny, tiny amount. So all I did was I slightly extended one side, and I slightly painted some ivory, some skin colour, eyeball colour on the other side, and it just moved the iris a little bit that way, and that's all I did. It was the slightest touch. It almost looked like I was doing nothing, but it was just enough to nudge it over. So I did that with the eye, just because that was a personal thing. I'm like, I'm not going to be happy with that if that goes, and that's going to be niggling in the back of my head, going, oh, that eye's not quite right. No one will notice, but you've noticed it, so you've got to do it. So I did that. What I've got to do as well, what I noticed, is above his eyes, sort of, let me see if I can, here where you get the fold between the eyelid and the top half of the face, the forehead and stuff, that I normally paint some shadow in there, and I've not done that with this yet. And I might darken his eyelashes on the top half when I'm doing that. Not sure how much I'm going to do. I want to do something that I've looked at it and thought, ooh, I've not done that bit yet, so I might do that. I might change slightly the colour of his lips, although I'm quite happy with them. He's often got quite pink looking lips, and I'm quite happy with how those are looking at the moment. So I might leave those. But definitely the eyeshadows. I'm just looking at all the different Kylo Ren pictures that I've got plastered on my 2 computer screens. Definitely the hair, definitely the eyeshadows. We might be done then. It's, you know, it might be this video. I'll bring the overhead camera in and we will get straight on with it. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, this might be the last video. Sorry, I was playing things through my head thinking, okay, I've got to do that, and maybe I want to do that, and what do we do after that, and do I edit pictures into this video, or do I do pictures as a separate thing? I was just trying to think things through in my head. It's been a long day. Okay, so let me bring this camera in. Now, I lifted this up out of my way. Oh, be quiet, phone. While I was working on something else earlier on, because I didn't want the camera. I didn't need the camera, I just needed the light. So I basically lifted this up out of the way to get the camera out of my face so I could work on something else without this being in the way. Normally I'm doing videos and I, you know, need the camera to be there. So that should be roughly right. If I just moving my paint board over slightly, if I go to the close-up camera, focus is about there. That's quite good. Let's put me in the corner. Ooh, hello. So that's me down here. Let's see. Okay, Kylo, get out the way. Kylo Ren was blocking my recording program. Bad Kylo. Okay. Cool. That's everything where it needs to be. Let me just check that phone, make sure it's nothing. Nope, I can ignore that. Just had to check in case it was an important message and in case I needed to make a phone call or whatever. So that's good. So let's bring Kylo in. He's looking a little bit shiny at the moment because after I'd done the other work around him, because I'm handling him a lot, and I thought this is, you know, there's the potential for this to go on longer than I wanted it to. I gave him a quick light spray with sealer with some varnish. It's a semi-gloss, I think, or satin sealer, just to protect it from me holding it, so you know it's not going to be rubbing off as easily as it had previously. So he's a little bit shiny at the moment. That will go when we're done, because when we varnish him properly, we will use the matte varnish that we normally use, and we will make him less shiny. So you can see what we've done there. His eyes are looking good, they're in the right place. Let's do some of the dry brushing. So what brush do I want to use? I think I can use a messy brush like that. Old brush that's totally bendy and everything of the bristles, and that's going to be enough, because all I'm going to be doing is gently brushing over the top of the highlight, you know, the raised parts. What colour do I want to use? Let's see. I'm going to use a couple of different ones, even though I could get away with just using one colour because it's so subtle, this stuff that I'm going to be doing here. I might do a couple just because psychologically for me it will let me know that there's two different shades of highlight on there, and if I can make things look a bit different, where I can, then that helps, because the natural world is different. There are variations. It's very hard to talk when I'm doing this because it sounds like my voice is doing that. Because the natural world is full of variations and differences, and normally I would just get, for something this subtle, I would just get a dark brown and go shoop, 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 and that would be enough. I thought, now this time I'm going to do that, but then go in with a separate colour and just do a couple of bits. And you're hardly going to see any of this, you're hardly going to notice it, but it's going to be enough. So I've just gone in there, you can see the two blobs of paint, you can see the different colours, those two. One of them was, I've forgotten what I used now, I think one of them was Hull Red, it's a sort of chocolatey brown colour, and one of them, I think it was that one, which is Mahogany Brown, which is a dark brown, but you can see the difference on the lids there. So I think those were the colours that I did. So let me get my brushes out the way here. I don't know how far in I've got this zoomed in, but you can see, as long as I make sure that I've got the palette in frame, you can see what I'm doing. I've brought the kitchen roll that I'm using to clean my brushes onto this bit. I've only got that off the side where you don't need to see for when I'm cleaning brushes, but I want you to see what I'm doing here, because this is part of this is not just for cleaning brushes now, this is actually part of the painting process. So we are going to take this and give him some highlights. So just put that over to one side. I've got a piece of, like a block of sponge where I put the stick in and he just sits there off to one side. He's just there. It's just to my left. So if I take the dark one, get it on the bristles, and then I'm just going to, down here, dab most of it off, and then go onto the kitchen roll and just give it a wipe. So you can see already there's almost nothing there. So I'm just going to get rid of most of that, give it a bit of a test on my hand, so you can see when you rub it in there's something there. So I'm just going to go in lightly, and it's better to do it subtly and then build it up if you need more, than to go in with too much and splodge a load onto the head and go, oh, I've ruined it, I've got to repaint everything now. So it's better to do it lightly. So I'm going in just on the raised parts of the curves, basically. If you imagine that this hair is a series of hills, and there's some high bits and there's some low bits. I'm just lightly brushing over the high bits to pick up some colour, and I do not even know if that's going to show on the camera. I can just about see it. So I've just gone back here, pick up a bit more colour, dab a bit more off, wipe it off again on the kitchen roll, and gently, and you want to do it so it goes on in an even way, and not with a big blob of colour on one of the bits. And I'm trying to not only make sure it goes on where I want it to, to do the highlights and stuff, but also I'm trying to pay attention to how it looks in terms of for the colour that we want for Kylo's hair, but also how it looks in terms of realism for light and shadow and shade and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm paying attention to where I'm doing it, just in terms of the raised bumps, but I'm also looking at it and thinking, does this still look like Kylo Ren's hair? And it does, and I can already see it looks a bit better. But I've got to be careful to not overdo it and not make it look like he's got brown painted hair. So I'm going back, getting a bit more, wiping it off again. Okay, so let's do some on this side. So I'm trying to not do it everywhere. I'm doing it on all the raised bits, but I'm trying to not do it so much that it colours in all of the hair and we end up with a completely different shade of hair. I just want to make it look like there is bits that's catching the light. So, almost done with this colour now. I'm just going to do a little bit in a couple of places, a little bit stronger. Not everywhere, I want most of it to be the same, but just in a couple of places I want it to pick up just a little bit more. Trying to be careful here where I'm doing the inside to not do any on his skin, because that would be annoying. So I think you can see some of that there. I can definitely see it to my eye. It's just not plain black anymore. It's very subtle. It's still the same colour, but it's just a little bit more brown. Now what I'm going to do is, let's wipe that off. I was going to clean the brush now, but I don't want to do that because once you've put water on the brush, to get it dry enough to be able to do dry brushing is kind of a pain. So I'm just going to rub off as much as I can on the kitchen roll and then on me, because why not? I can wash my hands after. Now, lighter colour, exactly the same thing. So this is that lighting. We've just been doing that. Now we're doing with this colour here. So lighter colour, dab most of it off, wipe most of it off on the kitchen roll, and it's just a slightly different shade, and there's a few places I want to do it just to pick up a slightly different look. Now, this is partly me doing it sort of from, not guessing, but trying to work out, where I think it might look slightly different, but also a couple of the photos that I'm working from, he's got light shining on his hair in a certain way, and bits of his hair are more highlighted than others. Now, that is sort of scene specific because he's standing under a certain type of light and it's making a certain part of his hair bounce off with light again. So you don't necessarily need to do that because it's not going to look like that all the time. But if it's a thing that is accurate to the character and is a way that people will have seen him, then it doesn't hurt to do that because you are still doing it in a way that's going to make him look accurate, and it might bring that scene to people's mind when they see the figure. So as long as it is accurate to how the person looks, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Just do a little bit at the front here, not too much. I'm almost done here because I'm trying my best to not go over the top because it's so easy to do a bit more and then you just end up thinking, oh, it's way too light now. Because if you do it small bits at a time, it's very easy to end up doing more without realizing, because it slowly builds up. It's that thing which I don't think is true, but people say if you put a frog in a pan of cold water and then slowly turn up the heat, it won't jump out because it won't realize it's getting hot. Now, I think that's a load of nonsense, but the idea behind it is, valid, and it works with painting. If you are doing a thing and trying to make it look a certain way, and you're doing it subtly, just slowly building it up, it can be very easy to end up doing it too much because you're just, building it up in little bits. You have to make sure you do stop and look back and go, right, how does that look? Does that look okay? And look at the overall thing. Now that looks really good because it's still dark here. Now it will look even better when it's not shiny. But that looks really good though. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, what I'm actually going to do is clean the brush. I'm bringing in my water. Clean that brush now that I am done with the dry brush. And I think that's enough. I don't think I need to do any more than that because it is very subtle and you could have done without it. I didn't really need to do that, but I wanted to because I knew how his hair looks, and even though it's a subtle thing, it's something that I wanted to add. So I've done that, and that with just those 2 shades was actually enough. I'll turn this over now because I'm back to just drying my brush on it. So what I'm going to do now, put that back. Let's get some black. Where's the black? Okay, so this is full on black. It's not black brown or anything. Now I know I've said I never use black or very rarely use black. That is true, and that is still accurate because that hair was basically done with black brown with a bit of black mixed in occasionally. But what I'm doing here, I am using black just to do some very thin, watery glazes or washes over certain areas where I want there to be darker shadows, even though his hair is almost black. Just in some of the deep bits, between there, in there I should say, and between some bits here, maybe a little bit underneath where there's going to be more shadow. I just want to make it look a bit darker, even though it is very dark already. And because of how dark that is, I have to use black to do that. Normally, if he had lighter brown hair, I would use a dark brown to do the shadows, but in this case, it's sort of got to be black. So I'm just taking, I just put some black there, and I've just put some water down, and I'm just making it very watery. But enough that black will go down. Now, just punched one of the heads in the face there. I have a load of heads on sticks over there, but that I'm working on. Just punched one in the face. I'm so sorry. Alright, so I'm just using a thinnish brush. It's not super pointy, but it's not a big, wide open brush. And what I'm doing here is just going in. If you imagine that this sculpt is a load of mountains and valleys, I'm painting dark in all the valleys, basically. Well, not all of them. Just I'm doing some. I'm just adding some extra shade here and there. Doesn't have to be everywhere. You don't want to do it everywhere because then it looks a bit like it's something that you've done as opposed to it just being how it is. So add some shadow underneath because that bit is supposed to be dark because it's underneath, so there would be less light on it. I have no idea if I was holding that at the right height for the focus, so I'm sorry if that was out of focus. I think that's about right. And I think that's enough. I don't want to overdo that. I don't want it to look like it's two-tone stripy hair and some of it's black and some of it's brown. I want there to be shadows there and darker bits, but without you realizing. So I'm just adding little dark bits where I think that would automatically, or that would normally look dark, and to make it do so without you realizing that that's what you're seeing. So you just think it's really dark hair without realizing that there's like 4 colors in there or something. Okay. I think that's enough. Okay, so the hair is good. And it is difficult because it's shiny to see, is that right? Is that too brown? Is it too black? Is it uneven? It's sort of difficult. You can paint things sometimes, and sometimes you know you got it right first time. And sometimes you paint it and you go, I think I've got that right, so we'll move on. And then later on, when you do more painting, or maybe even when you get to the very end and you put the varnish on, or you put the matte, clear coat on to get rid of all the shine, and that's when you go, oh, that's uneven, that's too light on that side and too dark on that side. And then you can just pick up one of the colours, mix it to the right thing, do a little bit on the other side, make it even, another clear coat, and you're done. Clear coat? Clear coat, and you're done. So it's alright fixing it afterwards, and it will happen sometimes, so don't always expect to get things right, because God knows I don't. Alright, so I've done the shadows on his hair, I've done the dry brushing on his hair. What else did I say? Oh, highlights? Shadows. The opposite of highlights, Darren. Under his eyes. Let me get a pointy brush. It's pointy-ish. So I'm talking about in here. Where's the focus? So I'm talking about the crevice that's in here between where the eye is and then the top of the eyelid a bit. I'm going to put a bit of shadow in there, and it's going to be a darkish brown colour, maybe mixed with a bit of skin, just to get it in the same tonal range. And I'm going to do those lines there and take it around the eye, and then I think his upper eyelid, his upper eyelashes, if I can even say them properly, his upper eyelashes need to be a little bit darker. But for that bit, that's just too light there, so I need to... Alright, let's see. I want a sort of purple colour, but I want it to be like a dark brown, which is why I'm thinking about adding some skin to it. Let's use a different brown. I'll use one that I've never used before here, saddle brown. But it's a medium darkish brown, but it's close to what I want, so I'll give it a go. Or it looks like it might be close to what I want. I have no idea. I don't know what I'm doing. Who am I? Why are you all watching me? Okay, so I put a little bit of that brown down. Ugh, a little bit of that brown down. Just put a bit of flat red down, and I'm going to put a bit of grey blue down. Because blue, I forgot to mix it up, and it just came out the wrong colour because it was all separated in the bottle. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Now I might need to put some skin down. So we've got 3 colours here, blue, red and brown. Blue and the red is basically because those together make purple, and that's sort of what I wanted. So there you go, straight away, blue and red, and you get a purple colour, but I want it to be a bit browny, so I'm putting some brown in there too. I'm going to take a little bit of that dark brown as well from before, put a bit of that in. I want some black brown, not some black. What's that? That's black. Where is the black brown? Black brown. Oh, hang on, give it a shake. Because that's still quite light, but I don't want to put black in it, so let's do that here. Little tiny blob of black brown there. I'm just going to darken that. You know what? Sod it. Let's steal a bit of black. A dot, like a tiny bit. That might be alright. I think it should be probably more brown than that. But it's possibly close enough. I'm stealing some of the other brown there. Alright, so let me chuck some water on that. Thin it down, because I'm not painting a strong colour here. This is a thin, well, as with everything we do, but especially here, a thin, subtle effect. Now, one thing that I'm still trying to get used to with these Vallejo paints is when I add water, it doesn't just thin it down, but stay the same colour, which it used to on my MP paints. What the Vallejo tends to do is it thins it down, but it also goes lighter in colour, like they separate. And that is a thing that I'm not used to yet. I don't know if there's a different liquid that I can try, a different thinner, or if it's just something that I'm going to have to get used to and mix them slightly darker, which is fine, I can do that. Just something that I'm still getting used to. Part of the process. So I think, that might work. It'll work to start with. Chuck that brush in there for now and just get a skinny brush. Let's see. A skinny-ish brush. That'll do. Doesn't have to be super, super pointy. I don't need one of my expensive brushes. This is just enough to be able to get in under there. Now, I just realised I've held the head there, which is still a bit... Well, it's not wet, but it's not dry. Okay, where is my camera settings? Okay, because I want to raise the focus up. So camera 1, I think that is, because it keeps changing. Alright, focus, focus, focus. There you go. So we want this a bit higher so you can see what I'm doing. Difficult because it gets close to the camera, but let me see if I can do this. So I'm going to try and do this where you can see it. So where's your level? So about there. Okay. So what I'm doing is a thin wash of darker colour just under that eye. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Now I might need to go back and put more on, but it's easier to do a thin layer and then go back with another thin layer if you need to, than to do too much and go, oh, ruined it. Which does happen, obviously. So I'm just taking that colour and I'm mixing a little bit more brown in with it, just because I want it to be a bit more browny, obviously. I'm just blending that in there a bit as well. So, oops, went over the edge there. Let's turn this upside down so I can get to it a bit better. Because I don't want it to be, you know, super dark. It's just, sorry, that was my phone. Probably my phone telling me it's time to do something work-wise, because I have a calendar telling me when I need to do things as part of my let's try to be more organized, Darren thing. So my phone keeps telling me when I have to do stuff. Yep, I've just seen it's come up on my screen. Apparently now I'm supposed to be doing website research, because I'm changing my website host at some point this year. And this next hour of today was when I had booked it in for this week. I've done like 1 hour a week. I'm doing website research. And I put it in my calendar. But the thing is, I'm in the middle of doing something now. This is more important. It will have to wait. It's fine. So I've just cleaned the brush. I'm just getting a little bit of water on the brush just to soften the edges. Just blending it in a bit. But if I can... So see that darker bit there? When it's upside down like this, it looks, you know, quite harsh and quite drastic. But when it's the normal way around, it looks a bit better because it just adds a bit of shadow to the top of his eyes, and it makes it look a bit more how it would look on a full-scale human. Even though it's, you know, it's potentially a little bit exaggerated, it's still quite good. So I'm just lightening it up on the edge here. Just taking the same colour, but the bit where it'd gone a bit lighter when I'd added water to it. Sorry, not even paying attention to what you can see there. My bad. I'm just trying to blend it in a little bit. That's quite good. Well, I've got that colour. That as well. Darken his nose. That'll dry and just be a slightly shadowy colour. If you're looking at it underneath like that, it looks like giving him piggy nose. But when it's like that, it'll just look like shadow, which is okay. I mean, to be honest, what I might do is just take a clean brush, the one I've just been using, and let the brush soak up some of that colour that I've just painted into his nose, so it is a little bit lighter. Same colour, just not quite as thick. Now that I've said piggy nose, that's all I'm seeing. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Alright, so I'm putting more water in there. That'll thin it down and it'll dry out. I'll have to keep checking that. I've made myself paranoid now. Okay, so we've done dry brushing on the hair with a couple of different shades, and we've made it just a little bit. There you go. You can see there's a particularly strong bit there, but at normal distance, in normal light, it just looks like the sun is catching his hair. I might get, you know what I'm going to do? Let's get some of that dark, the black, bit of water. I just want to break up that brown bit. It's, even though it's brushed on and it's you know, dry brushed, I think it's gone on a bit all in one, like as a big clump of brown colour. So what I'm just doing here is adding a bit of black in the, like a black wash, which is going in the small crevices, and it's just breaking it up a little bit because I want the same colour, but it just, I don't want it to look like it's been painted, and that, just that little bit there looked a bit like it had been painted. So it's a little bit better now. But you can see, in fact, right, let me get the focus back to where it should be. And it's hard to tell because I'm pointing this at the light, so it always looks a bit unnatural anyway. You'll see in the end pictures when I take it under normal light with my camera, it just looks like natural bouncy light reflections from the sun on someone who's got dark hair. So that's good. I'm happy with that. We've done that. I'm actually happy with the lips. I've been looking at the colour of his lips as I've been doing this. I'm actually quite happy with that. Some of the pictures, his lips look a bit more orangey red. Some of the pictures, his lips look very purpley pink. Oh, see, I'm worried about trying to change them slightly and ended up, you know, ruining them a lot. I think they could do maybe with having a tiny bit more colour on it. Tiny bit more colour. I mean, it doesn't need doing really. I'm probably making a huge problem for myself by even attempting this. But maybe it has a bit more colour. Oh, Darren, what are you doing? Alright, you know what? Here's the thing. Right. So, the red that we had down before, let's get some of that. The purpley browny mix that we had, let's get some of that. Let's mix the lighter part. Oop, where are we? Where it's separated when I added water and it went into a lighter colour. Let's mix that in there. Get some water in there, thin it up. Thin it up, thin it down. Can't even talk today. Let's see. It's a little bit... Let me try and... I'm trying to figure this out now. I wasn't planning on doing this. You know what? Let's put a little bit of brown in. So let's get that brown from over there. A little bit of brown. Needs more water. Needs to be thinner. Let's make it super thin. So I'll just put a blob of water down there and I'm just letting the paint run into it, but it's mostly water. Mostly water. Right. That might work. Let's try that. Oh, Darren, you idiot. So I need a spare brush. Where's my emergency brush? I need one. There you go. That can be my emergency brush. Where's the focus? Down there. Oh, it seems like this is going to be very dark. Actually, that's actually not bad. Actually. It's thin and watery enough that it doesn't seem to be making much difference. So I can just dab some extra stuff on in the fold where there would be shadow, and then allowing there to be lines, the fold lines that you get on lips, as there would be, but allowing it to be... Where's the colour? I forgot where I mixed it. It was this stuff, wasn't it? Allowing there to be extra colour. I should probably have moved the focus up for that bit. In the middle. Make the middle a bit more colourful, a bit darker. Alright, now let me have a look at it. That's actually okay. That's still okay. I was worried. So I'm going to let that dry a sec. I think I might want to do a really thin glaze of that on top. The different red. I'm just going to put some up here just because it's out the way. There. I'm letting those lips dry for a second. And I'm going to get some thinner, some flow enhancer with a drop of flow enhancer and just put a tiny bit of colour in it. And so that's the paint, that's the drop of flow enhancer, and I just took the most minute bit of colour, so you can see how there's hardly anything there, but it's a bit red. It's a little bit bright orangey red, and I'm gonna use that. Let me lift the focus up for you guys. Just realised I'm sort of working quite low down. There you go. So I'm going to use this separate red glaze just in the centre, in the fold on the top lip where there would be a bit more shadow, adding a bit more colour, but just in the middle and not overdoing it. And we're sort of okay there. Just checking against pictures of him, making sure we're still okay, which we are. Okay, that's looking good. I'm going to take that little red colour, I'm just going to put a little bit more up in his eyes, a bit in the corner of his eyes. Now that's an example of what I said, where you can be painting, you can do a thing and you can be done, and you can be working on something completely different later on, and then if you happen to have a colour and you happen to look at the thing and go, ooh, that'll probably benefit from a bit of whatever it is, and that's that. I've just put some red up there. I hadn't planned it, didn't really need it, but I thought it might look, you know, might work better, so I did that, and it probably won't make any difference that people would notice, but it'll make a difference to me because I'm thinking, I think that could do with that colour there, so that's what we do. Quickly cleaning the brush. Oh, excuse me, how professional, I'm yawning. Okay, so let me have a look at the head. Put this brush back. I don't know if that's the right... Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, Darren. Okay, where are we? Where's the focus? Now, it is difficult to tell because he's shiny. We don't want him to be shiny. So it is hard to tell how he's looking. I think, though, he's sort of kind of done. Actually, what I'm going to do, I just want to get a little bit... I could use brown, I could use red or purple or something. I'm going to use that sort of pinky, purpley, browny red that we had. His hair has a slight peak in the middle where it comes down, and it's sort of sculpted on, but it's a little bit off to one side, and I just want to use a subtle colour to add a little bit of shadow where it is. Just a slight change of colour. I'm just doing lots of dots here. I'm dabbing it on basically. Oh, there's a hair on the brush. Go away. So I am... Oh, the focus is all the way down there. I do wish these cameras had good autofocus. They just don't, which is why I'm constantly doing it manually for you guys. I'm dabbing some reddy, purpley, pinky brown colour up here, just to darken it slightly, add a bit of something, and then I'm going to wash the colour off the brush and just blend it a little bit. It's probably so subtle that you can't even see it hardly, but for me it's there. Oh, see, because it's shiny you can't even... Oh, turn it sideways, there you go. So if you can see in here, I'll take you around the corner a bit. So let me wet the brush. So you can see that dark bit under there. That's what I'm doing, and it looks worse when you turn it upside down, but I'm also now using a wet brush just to blend the edges, make it more subtle. There you go, that's better. And then when I turn that the right way up, obviously I've still got the focus too high. You can't really tell there because the focus is so high, but as I look at it at a normal distance, it just gives the vaguest slight impression that there's a little bit more hair or something, like super thin hair. You know, the way some people have really thin hair on a bit of the, like it's not the full length of the hair, it's just little bits of short hair where it's, you know, a bit different. I've just made a vaguest hint of something there, and that's good enough. That's all I needed. It was just a subtle little thing. Because I'm looking at this head now and I'm trying to imagine what is it going to look like when the sealer has been put on, when the dull coat has been put on, when it's not shiny anymore and his eyes have been glossed. And I'm just trying to imagine what's it going to look like when all of that is done. Oh, excuse me. I got the burps. And I think that's quite good. I think that's quite good. Right, I'm going to leave that. I think we might be done there. What I'm going to do after... hang on, my buttons have changed. My buttons changed. There you go. After this video, once I've stopped and once anything that I've done there is dried, I'm going to give it another look over. I'm just going to clear everything out of the way, get my cameras, get my microphone out of the way, and just look at the head and look at all the reference pictures, and I'm going to see if there's anything that needs doing, because sometimes you can think you've done everything, you've worked your way through all of the things that you knew you needed to do, and you get to the end and you go, yep, that's done. But then it's always worth taking some time and going, right, there's all the reference pictures, let me look at it and look at every bit of the head, look at the eyes, look at the colour of the eyes, the positioning of the eyes, the eyeballs, the shadows underneath, the eyelashes. I didn't make his eyelashes stronger, did I? I knew there's something. I mean, honestly, with the shadow that I painted in the crevice, in the shadow, in the fold between his eyes and his, you know, up here, with that shadow, that sort of has the effect of giving him darker eyelashes anyway. I think we're all right. I might, probably not, go in with a dark brown, like the black brown colour, and just add a very thin line just going around the top edge of his eyes, just to make his eye sort of in that dark shadow colour that we did just before. Going to go in to that with black brown and just do a little line of it around his eyes. I might. That will give the impression of there being darker eyelashes in the dark fold. I might not need to, because that dark colour gives the same impression. That's quite good. But you go through everything and you look at the hair and you look at the colour of lips and you look at any markings that you're supposed to do on the face, any moles or, you know, blushes or scars or anything like that. Go around the whole thing and just look at everything and look at all the reference pictures you've got and check it and look at the pictures and check it and look at the pictures. And often you'll get to the end and you go, nope, that's done, that's brilliant. And you can put it away and you can take it outside and varnish it or whatever you do. Or sometimes you get to the end and you're doing that and you go, oh, those cheeks need to be a bit more blush coloured, or those lips need to be a bit more brown or skin coloured, or anything. It could be anything. And it's always worth doing it. I'm going to do that after I've pressed stop on this video and see if there's anything worth doing. I think he might be done. I was considering making his eyeballs a little bit more yellow in the corners. Not that he has particularly yellow eyeballs. He's not like a, you know, like an old man character or something who has really yellow eyes. Just often it can make it look more realistic. It just makes it look more human. Most toys have really bright eyes, or the eyeballs, if not white, are sort of greyish light blue. And I find if you add a little bit of red in the corners, a little bit of bloodshot, a little bit of blood vessels, and a little bit of yellow, and it can be yellow or yellow ochre, but the thinnest wash over the ivory, which is already a yellowy white colour, it to me sometimes just makes it a bit more realistic, because it looks like something that a human being has. I was going to do that. I don't really think I need to. I'll have a look at that. We did the collar. I neatened the edges of the collar. I neatened the edges of the hair. We've just done the highlights and the stuff that we wanted to do there. I think he's ready just to be varnished. So if that's the case, if I'm working on the assumption that I'm not doing any more painting on him, the way I finish a head, for those who've never seen any of my videos before, I can't really show it because I have to take it outside and I can't film it. I don't have any of these cameras, and I can't take my phone because I need both hands to do it, and it's easier just to explain it. Maybe one day I'll figure out a quick way to have a tripod on my phone or something so I can film what I'm doing, or like a GoPro mount that I can hold in my mouth while I'm doing the spraying, just to let you see. But basically, when I'm done, I take the head out into the back garden and I use 2 varnishes. It's usually a gloss first, let that dry for a day or so. Once it's fully dry, I then go in with Tester's dull coat. I don't know if it's Tester's or Testors. I think it's Tester's dull coat, DULLCOTE, which is the thing that removes all of the shine. Give it a coat of that, let that dry, and then go in with, have I got any here? I've got some somewhere. A bottle of gloss varnish. I have got some, I can't find it at the moment. That's really annoying. It is here somewhere. I've got a bottle of gloss varnish. I've got a bottle of ultra matte varnish, which actually you paint on and is even more matte than the dull coat spray. But I use that usually for things like leather or wood, or things that need to be like so shine free. Because usually skin, there's a little bit of shine on there, or hair, but for things that you want it completely dead in terms of shine, this is the stuff I use. AK Interactive Ultra Matte Varnish. I've used it on a couple of heads where I just thought it will look better. It's not particularly strong though, like with some of the sprays, they're quite resistant. Still got to be careful because you can scratch them very easily. This stuff, it's just like paint, so easily scratched, but worth using in some cases. But I have a bottle. I can't find it at the moment, which is really annoying, so I'm just going to hold up this bottle and pretend it's this. Because it looks like this. It's basically white in colour, but it's a bottle of gloss varnish. That's one of those. And I just put out a dab of that, get one of my little tiny brushes, gloss the eyes, and what I do is paint a coat of gloss over each eyeball, let that dry, paint another coat of gloss over the eyeball, let that dry, let that go nice and shiny, and then get the, you know what, now I'm saying this, I'm sort of tempted to do this on camera in another video, because this is actually quite useful for those who don't know how to do it. Okay, I'm going to do that next video. So what I'm going to do now, this is not the last video. We're going to have video 17. This video is done in terms of painting. I will take it outside. I will go psh, 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 like that with the gloss. Give it a nice even coat, not too thick, but just enough to cover it. Let it dry for a day or two. Get the Tester's dull coat, Go all over it. Let that dry. That will remove most of the shine. Then we will come in on the next video and I will gloss the eyes, and I will show you how I gloss the eyes, but more importantly, how I make a fake glossy lens of varnish on the front of the eye to make it have that curve that the front of an eyeball has. The lens that goes over the front of the eye, it gives that curve, but it also for the stuff that I'm using, there may be better glosses out there that I could be using. It makes the reflections on the front of the eye better than just manually painting over with a brush. And because even the slightest remain of brush strokes or imperfections on the eyeball itself, whether it's with paint or a piece of dust that you can't see because it's so small, things like that break up that lovely shine that you want on the front of an eye. Doing a blob of gloss on the front carefully gives you the shape, but also gives you a perfect, because the surface tension holds it in, and you get, so that's what I do. Useful for those who have never seen it before, which is why I will do that on the next video. There you go. Decisions made on the fly. So that's it then. Seeing as we are coming back in another video, just to gloss the eyes and anything else that I think maybe put a bit of gloss on his lips. That varies character by character. He doesn't really have much. Sometimes his lips are a bit shiny, sometimes they're very, very matte, so they might be fine as they are. I'm gonna have to check his collar. I might want to put a little bit of shine on his collar. But otherwise we're done. So I will see you in video 17. Thank you for sticking around. It was a subtle video today, just doing the hair and a bit of shadows under his eyes, but useful and needed to be done. So we'll come back in the next video and do the gloss, and then we will be done. And then I'll post some pictures afterwards. And yeah, that's it. I was trying to make sure there was nothing else I needed to say, and there isn't. So I'm just going to move. I've got the camera settings up on my screen and it's blocking my recording program. So look after yourselves, have a good day, have a good evening or weekend or week or wherever you are, whenever you are watching this. Look after yourselves, look after everyone around you, look after animals, be nice to everything basically. And I will see you soon for the last video, and we will just gloss the eyes and get that done, and then that is Kylo Ren finished. But not this video, next video. Right, take care everyone, because that's been over an hour already. I would have done it now, but I've got to spray the thing first anyway, so I can't. So ignore that sentence. I can't do it now. What are you talking about, Darren? Go away. Let the people leave. Bye everyone. I'll see you soon. I'm going. I'm actually going. Where's my end button? There's my end button.